If a pilot's blood pressure is not within prescribed limits, he will be classed as unfit to fly. As part of any medical examination, the doctor will measure blood pressure. The result will be given as two numbers, such as 120/80. The higher figure is the systolic pressure. That is, the pressure exerted by the heart when it contracts to send blood around the body. The lower figure is the diastolic pressure, which is the permanent pressure within the arterial system. The pressures are measured in millimetres of mercury. For aviation purposes, high blood pressure is defined as a systolic of 160 or a diastolic of 95 or over. Low blood pressure, which is far less common, is defined as 90/60 or less. When blood pressure is high, it is called hypertension. When it is low, it is called hypotension. By far the greatest cause of illness and unfitness to fly is high blood pressure. It is caused by a variety or a combination of things, such as smoking, stress, poor diet, age, obesity, lack of exercise, and arterial or cardiac illnesses. It can be corrected by drugs, a change in lifestyle, or surgery. High blood pressure may give no symptoms at all, and may only be detected by regular blood pressure testing, such as a flying medical examination. The primary symptoms are heart palpitations, shortness of breath, angina or chest pains, headaches, or nosebleeds. One major illness caused by high blood pressure is a stroke. That is, where a blood vessel in the brain ruptures, a very common cause of death. Low blood pressure may be caused by blood loss, poor heart function, heart disease, dehydration, and anesthetics. Mild low blood pressure does not normally constitute a danger, but if it leads to a shortage of oxygen to the tissues, it can lead to lethargy, reduced capacity to withstand G-forces, dizziness, shortness of breath, fainting, and in serious cases, shock. After donating blood, flight crews should rest supine for 15 to 20 minutes, and they should not fly for at least 24 hours. Arterial blood pressure control is necessitated by the need to maintain a constant internal environment, or homeostasis, for optimal cellular performance. The control mechanism, which seeks homeostasis, is made up of the pressure receptors, or baroreceptors, which are located in the carotid sinuses in the neck and in the aortic arch. If the receptors sense that blood pressure is too low, they cause a neurotransmitter. That is, a chemical which transmits an electrical signal along a nerve, to be released to the brain, which stimulates cardiac activity and constricts the blood vessels, thus raising blood pressure. If the receptors sense that blood pressure is too high, cardiac activity is suppressed and arteries relaxed. The heart is told to slow down, and the artery walls also relax. If it is too low, a message is sent to the brain which then tells the heart to speed up, and pressure in the arteries increases. The mechanism which regulated blood pressure functions automatically, but if the cause of pressure change is extreme, such as high G-forces, the system may be unable to cope, and the pilot may black out or red out. We will look at this phenomenon later. The heart is central to healthy living, but it is susceptible to damage in several ways. You will recall that the heart muscles are regulated by internal electrical impulses. These may become irregular, causing the heart to beat irregularly. This would show up on an electrocardiogram test, which is part of the Class 1 flying medical examination. However, surgery provides a simple remedy to an irregular heartbeat, in the form of a pacemaker. This is a simple device weighing about 1 ounce, which is placed under the skin in the upper chest. A small battery, which lasts for years, sends electrical impulses to the heart in order to make it beat regularly. The heart muscles need their own supply of oxygen which they receive through the coronary arteries. If these become narrowed, then the supply of oxygen may be insufficient, and pains in the chest may be experienced. This is known as angina. If the blood supply is cut off completely, perhaps by a clot in an already narrowed artery, the patient suffers a heart attack. A portion of the heart muscle may die, known as a myocardial infarction. Following a heart attack, the heart may be unable to sense electrical impulses. The heartbeat may become irregular, or the heart may stop beating. Almost half the people who have a heart attack die immediately, while many suffer a cardiac arrest, which can be treated by a defibrillator and electric shock treatment if done quickly enough. Left-click anywhere on the screen to reveal in order of importance the factors most likely to make a person susceptible to heart attack. Family history, age, previous heart illness, hypertension, smoking, raised cholesterol, lack of exercise, diabetes. Healthy eating and exercising 3 times a week for 30 minutes, producing a doubling of heart rate, are just 2 of the ways of looking after one's heart. Reducing the risk factors mentioned previously are also obvious requirements for reducing the risk of heart attacks. If a heart attack is survived, remedial action is possible in the form of an arterial bypass, whereby a vein is taken from the leg and used to bypass the blocked artery. Artery enlargement, or angioplasty, is a procedure by which a device called a stent is inserted into a clogged up artery, which widens the artery, allowing blood to flow through again. After suffering a heart attack, a pilot may lose his license, and at the very least will be restricted to multi-crew operation. The target rate in airlines of fatal accidents due to medical incapacitation of the pilot is once in 1,000 million hours. That is 10 to the power of 9. But this is not achievable as the risk of heart disease increases dramatically with age, from 1.3 in 100,000 in the male population between the ages of 25 to 29, up to 307 in 100,000 between the ages of 60 to 64. The risk of heart attack among women is much less. The target rate for accidents for a single pilot is 1 accident in 10 to the power of 9 hours flown, but this is not achievable. However, with a 2-pilot crew, it is estimated that if one of the pilots were incapacitated, then only 1 in 1,000 of such incapacitations would be fatal. So, the acceptable risk per pilot can be increased by 1 in 1,000 from 10 to the power of 9 to 10 to the power of 6. So, the acceptable risk per pilot can be increased by 1 in 1,000 from 10 to the power of 9 to 10 to the power of 6. If we keep dividing by 10, an incapacitation rate of 1 in 10 to the power of 6 is the same as 0.1 in 10 to the power of 5, or 0.01 in 10 to the power of 4. The figure 0.01 is the same as 1 in 100, or 1%. There are 8,760 hours in a year. That is, roughly 10,000 hours, or 10 to the power of 4. So, our pilot incapacitation risk of 1 in 10 to the power of 6 is the same as saying 0.01 in 10 to the power of 4, or 1% per annum. This figure of 1% per annum risk of incapacitation now forms the basis of the airline industry's criteria for pilot medicals. If your risk, for example, of a heart attack is greater than 1%, then a medical will be refused or made conditional. This concludes the lesson on circulation.